everybody. I'm your host, Sydney, and you are watching Debate Your Hobby. I'm here with two guests who should seem pretty familiar, as they recently appeared on a show called Hobby Talk. Welcome, JJ and Antonio. Antonio here is a local musician specializing in vocals and guitar. He's been involved in music since he was a child, and it's been a source of inspiration for him for many years. JJ, on the other hand, is at the total opposite end of the hobby spectrum, as the professionals call it. He specializes in wrestling, and he's been in wrestling ever since he was in middle school, so he's more of an athlete. Right. So when you two appeared on Hobby Talk, you just sort of discussed your hobbies. Today we're going to crank it up a little bit, and you're going to debate over whose hobby is better. Try to stay calm, JJ, no tackling him, and no smashing instruments. So I'm just going to ask you guys a question, and one person is going to answer it, and the other one's going to try to argue against it. So the first question, we're going to see which hobby is more difficult. So Antonio, can you first tell us what is the most difficult thing about being a musician and a performer?
The mental stress that I feel is more intense compared to wrestling, to where you'd be in front of a small group with wrestling, or you're focused on winning. Mm-hmm. While as a musician, you're focused on, am I singing in the right tone? Am I playing the right note? Am I going to be looking at this person or this person? Am I going to spin my guitar around my neck? Or am I thinking, are these lights too hot like they are right now?
Yeah.
But I've had like a heat stroke going on.
Really?
I mean, the mental stress is just agonizing compared to wrestling, which I feel is more difficult.
Okay, yeah, I can see. That sounds pretty difficult. So JJ, what's your argument? How is wrestling? How does it top that? What's more difficult about wrestling?
When it comes to wrestling, Sydney, it's harder than you think, because you have to watch diet. You have to, when you're actually on the mat. I mean, there's kids out there who know a lot of stuff, like who can injure you on purpose and do it without getting in trouble, without getting anything. So
really?
You have a lot to prepare about. I mean, you have to think about every move that you do, because it might be your last move.
Really?
So, music is, it's mental as well, but you can, miss notes and stuff, and it might not even, some people might not tell. It all goes into how you go into it, and physical, too. I mean, music is lyrics. Wrestling is, you have to be in tip-top shape, condition. You have to eat right. I mean, you can't have all the nasty foods and all the pops and stuff.
There's a lot of preparation that goes into it.
And there's preferred music as well, but I'm saying that there's more in wrestling.
All right, so there's more preparation in wrestling. All right, okay. So that can be pretty difficult, too. So, Antonio, any last thoughts on that, on his argument?
I'm just going to say I agree with some of the things he said, but I still feel music overpowers.
You still think music is... All right, okay. So now we've heard both sides, which is more difficult. So I think, it's both pretty equal, because there's a lot of preparation that goes in both. I'd say wrestling might be a little bit harder, mostly because I'm afraid of physical pain. I don't think I'd be able to wrestle anybody. You see these arms, I'm tiny. So I'd be more scared to wrestle. But, okay, so that's just my opinion. So the next question, JJ will answer first, and then Antonio will make his argument. So the next question is, we've seen which one's more difficult. Which one is more rewarding? JJ, how is wrestling more rewarding?
I mean, when you get off that mat, whether you win by points or by pin or by tech, I mean, you have physically beat someone. So I feel like that's more rewarding than just, I sang a song without anyone really trying to compete against. So I feel like being able to say that, yeah, I beat you and you couldn't do anything about it is more rewarding.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting point, Antonio.
Good point. Music's rewarding, though. I mean, I can see in people's faces that I can give them enjoyment. I can give enjoyment to myself and anyone that I'm with, whether it be a band or... you want people do pay to see wrestling, but a lot of people come to pay for music.
Yeah.
And if you're a disappointing musician, they're not going to come back. They're not going to do anything.
So you're
for that.
saying there's more people that come to concerts than
It's a bigger
people-
venue usually,
Yeah.
depending on what type of concert
there's a
it is.
larger audience.
It's also rewarding as far as like, did I get through without truly messing up to where everyone's going to notice it? Did I get through to where my fingers aren't bleeding because my calluses isn't working? It's happened.
Oh,
it,
okay.
it hurts. Did my
bet.
string break on stage? Did someone start a riot? Did someone
Yeah.
start a mosh pit in an acoustic
Yeah.
session? I mean,
Okay.
there's a lot of things that could happen. I mean, I spun around a guitar and hit somebody. And I mean, ooh.
Ow.
But so you never like. It's rewarding to say you got through it. It's
Without
rewarding to
messing up.
say, even with messing up, it's just rewarding to say that you made the best out of it. You gave people enjoyment that they can
Okay.
take on for a very long time. Whereas wrestling is, you get personal. You feel personal about it. You beat somebody, but I leave my mark. I make sure everybody knows.
So
They know.
you're making more of an impact on more people than just the person you pinned down for 3 seconds.
Exactly.
All right.
It can be more than 3 seconds.
More than 3
WWE. Oh, it depends. The shoulder blades have to be down, so
Okay.
I could really like hold someone there for like, well, a period is only 2 minutes, so give or take, I could hold someone down for that long. So
Okay. So just like JJ's, your benefits seem to outweigh the difficulties. I guess that's why you like it so much. So JJ, do you have any like last remarks on Antonio's?
I mean, about what you said about physically bleeding and stuff. I mean, I broke my ulna, which is like a forearm bone.
Okay.
Which, I mean, it wasn't. It's not like I got slammed or anything. It's like I just landed on it weird and it kind of cracked. So, I mean, there's a risk in wrestling as well. So.
Those are all good points. So now I will choose. I'm so sorry. Now I will choose which hobby is better. I have to agree with Antonio because you're making. I'm a performer myself, so as you're making an impact on an entire audience rather than just one person, and I think it is a really good feeling. That applause is such a good feeling. So now on to the last question for you two to debate over. Whose hobby has the most potential for a lifelong career? JJ, you will start.
Oh, see that's the thing about wrestling, because other than the Olympics, there's no really like adult wrestling unless you go into MMA or boxing. Then it turns into like the Muay Thai, the Jiu-Jitsus and all that. So I feel like with wrestling, once you learn that, it's like a foundation to how many other aspects
Okay.
you can potentially go into.
Antonio?
Well, I mean, it's difficult to go into any field like it is, like you said, with wrestling and music. I mean, you can't just get into it. It's like it's difficult. I don't know if either would be easier. I feel like mine has more potential as far as there's more openings. There's a lot of bands out there. People want to hear music or go to see music.
I'd agree.
But I mean, like it's difficult.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with Antonio a little bit. There are more openings for music because you could do, you could be in a band, you could do music for movies. Whereas wrestling, there's such a niche to it. Would you ever? I have to ask. Would you ever do like pro wrestling, like WWE? Like I know
I
it's
could.
fake, but would you ever do that?
When I was younger, I was like, yeah, I would definitely do it. But now it's like, it's really fake now.
Yeah.
Like it's not
Seems more
real
like a
wrestling.
soap opera for men.
Yeah,
Like,
it's-
there's a lot of drama. In
I
it.
feel like it's like for kids, really, like
Yeah.
just for like a dream or something to look up to. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I know there has been like real moments in the WWE, but I feel like it gives wrestling like not a bad name, but just a different outlook of it. So
Okay.
yeah.
So like, what are your guys' goals? Like, do you actually want to do music as a career?
It'd be one of the fields I like to pursue. I want to be a little wide variety, but I want music to be a base of it at least.
Right. And would you actually pursue wrestling as a career, or is it just a hobby?
It's a hobby.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous hobby. It's a time-consuming hobby. I mean, it's something like when you're younger you can kind of branch into as your teenage years, but being a grown man and still trying to wrestle other grown men,
Right.
I can't.
Right.
Can't put myself in that predicament.
I understand, yeah. So, I think, again, I think performing has a lot more openings. So I still have to go with Sorry, JJ.
It's okay. It's okay.
Well, that's all the time we have. Thanks for being here, guys. It was really cool to talk to you. I'm your host, Sydney. This was Debate Your Hobby. Have a good night.